some of the top dogs in this tournament. University of South Carolina Gamecocks and George Mason University will be going up against each other, and it's a perfect day to have a perfect day, and these two teams are going to be going up against each other and moving forward, and one of them will drop down to that loser's bracket after this match.
I know it's so hard to think about one of these teams being thrown down into the loser side of things, but something has to happen at some point, right? Something's got to give, and this is it. This is where we see the clash of the Titans. I mean, both of these teams have had such an incredible run that it's hard to believe someone will be sent down to losers. It's time to find out now. The players all ready. The stage is set. Let's get into some Rocket League.
George Mason University and University of South Carolina. Here we go. These two Titans, as Alexander has already mentioned, are going to be fighting for the Battle of Olympus to move forward and to continue their winners bracket run through, and this is where that match takes place. One of these teams will be moving forward and the other will have to continue forward in their losers bracket to meet once more in the grand finals.
Yeah, it's important to note here that whoever wins here will secure their spot on the winner's side of grand finals, and then the loser will have to crawl their way back up if they want to have another shot at that grand prize.
Yeah, and not only are they fighting for that first place spot, but close goal there, and Titanium will find it. George Mason going to start one up against South Carolina, and as I was saying, is the teams not only fighting to go into the grand finals for winners, but they're also fighting for one advantage. There is no bracket reset in this double elimination tournament, so whoever moves on to the grand finals as this winner of this matchup will have a already one-up lead in the best of 7 for the grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, already in a best of 7, having a game advantage can be so impactful. It can be so important, especially because we know how long those best of 7 series can go. But I really think that this matchup right here, right now in the winner's final side of things will be very indicative for how the rest of the tournament goes. Is JMU, is USC, are either of these teams fallible, and which one will give out first?
Yeah, and we are going to see a lot of aggression is going to come out from USC. Unfortunately, they're just hitting a little wide on this goal for GMU. Not able to secure anything quite yet, but they're doing a good job keeping that pressure on. And that's one thing that we've seen a lot of times today is one team tends to be a lot more aggressive. They can tend to keep a lot more pressure on the goal, and they don't tend to give out to the enemy team. But in this game specifically, we are going to see GMU and USC putting roughly equal amount of pressure on either side. The only goal that's been made so far was GMU, and that was basically at the start of the game.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised after seeing this last play that we saw here, South Carolina had a lot of freedom. GMU was giving them access to the front of the goal and not really doing much to contest them there until the very last second. GMU playing it a little close to the hip here, and it's working out for them because now they have possession once more, and look at this aggression. The ball's not going to quite get tapped in. That second man was a little out of position, but it doesn't matter. They're still putting pressure on the net. South Carolina is still on that back foot.
Yeah, and GMU and South Carolina are really just battling it out to take this next goal. GMU is doing a good job looking for this shot, and there it is with Joshua Squasher going to make that second shot there. Now going to be 2 up in this series against USC. USC still has a lot of goals to make if they want to get this lead.
Yeah, USC still on this back foot. They haven't really been able to make much headway. Even when they were attacking, they were close. They just weren't quite on point to where they needed to be. I mean, Bear said it earlier when he was talking about Northeastern, but potency is really the word that I would use when it comes to what South Carolina is lacking right now. They can get attacks started. They can get possession. They just can't hit it in. And oh my gosh, what they can do is have a fantastic defense game.
They can keep us on the edge of their seats too, clearly, because GMU almost made that shot, not quite going to find it yet, but USC still trying to keep this aggression, still trying to find those goals that they have been looking for the past 4 minutes here, 3 minutes here, and are still working to get forward, find that final shot, find that goal, just to get it back up to that 1 goal differential. But with the way we've seen GMU been playing this entire series, this is not easy for them. You can see how aggressive the play style that GMU has had to change to because of how USC is playing.
I think it's also really interesting when we look at GMU and the games that they've lost, the sets that they've dropped the game to, right? It's kind of unlikely opponents. Syracuse, UNCC early on in day 1. So interesting choices or interesting things that have happened, and maybe Syracuse and maybe UNCC have found some sort of hole or some sort of flaw in the GMU game plan that South Carolina could potentially use and abuse in order to get a little bit of an advantage. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to find that in this game, as time is taking away just a little over a minute remaining, and still South Carolina is still playing in their own half right now, not really having any sort of ability to free themselves out and move forward.
Yeah, and as we approach this 1 minute, still 2 up for GMU. Cats will go in, our mouse and keyboard player, but won't be able to find anything quite yet to find that final shot. GMU, on the other hand, gonna get aggressive once more. Dev at the top of the field, can't quite find that dunk onto the goal yet, but the ball is still on the side of South Carolina's field, and they need to switch it up. We are gonna see that Aug is low on that boost, not gonna be able to make any sort of massive play with it yet as we're approaching 30 seconds. GMU still up here, and USC is struggling to get that aggression back in their favor.
30 seconds at GMU. Oh my gosh, we're gonna see it. South Carolina does find a goal there from Solar all the way downtown at GMU. Can't get the defense, does get the touch, but it's not enough. The ball still goes in. 26 seconds remaining. South Carolina still has an opportunity. They're only down by 1 point. The question is, can they do it? The kickoff is not good. GMU has indeed the control to have the advantage on kickoff, and South Carolina can't quite find it yet.
Yeah, and you know, you're in that 1 point scenario right now as GMU is going to keep peppering onto your goal. 10 seconds, this ball will stay live as long as it does not touch the ground. So South Carolina still has a chance to bring this game to overtime in a 0-second goal, but it will be hard. The ball will touch the ground as Aug needs to hit it. Will find it. Cats will go after it next here. We are now in a live ball till it touches the ground. The ball will hit a few members there. GMU touches it to the ground and will take match number 1.
I mean, I really want to look at what we saw from Aug there at the very end. It kind of seemed almost counterintuitive, where you knew that Aug and the South Carolina team needed to keep the ball up, but we saw Aug spike it to the ground really quickly to get that bounce, get under it, and then keep moving it forward. GMU, though, they were wise to it. They were smart to it. They understood what was happening there, just to get on the right side of it and spike it down to the ground. But it looked like it was completely in GMU's favor. It looked like it was GMU's game. Looked like they could walk away with it. At the end there, we were seeing a lot out of South Carolina. We started to see them heat up, started to find those weaknesses, find those openings, and take advantage of that. And I think we're just going to see more and more and more of that as we get a little bit deeper into this series.
Yeah, and one thing about GMU is they're fast. They're good at adapting very, very fast. And USC, they're more methodological about it. They take time to adapt. They try to come up with a brand new strategy to work with, and that's what's really helped USC this entire time, working slower normally than GMU, but in the long run it gets them further, and that one match is exactly what USC needed to sort of study GMU, because this is the first time they've competed against each other. So now USC taking that time to really understand how GMU is going to play against them in particular, and are going to try and make GMU have to change up their strategy once again.
Absolutely, and I mean, kind of going off of that South Carolina is a little bit more mythological in the way that they play their game. I mean, they are like dragons, and as of right now, no one has really been able to hold a candle or hold a flame to them, but GMU, like a knight in shining armor, like the Patriots that they are, have come to the forefront to try and slay these dragons, and so far, it's been effective. They have been the hero of this story. It's just, can South Carolina bring it back? And can they show us that even Titans, even Knights can be slain? Yeah, South Carolina looking to rewrite the fairy tale history books in this one and take out GMU and this Patriot Act. But
to do that, a score needs to be taken by one of the two teams here as we're approaching some time, and oh, right there, we're going to see Titanium just barely going to miss that goal. Must have heard me. I mean, they are right below us. And South Carolina going to be back on this defense, needing to take this aggression once more, take the offensive angle. But GMU is always getting to South Carolina's ball on the offense, and through the defense. Og is going to find a nice shot and put South Carolina on the board.
Oh my gosh, let's take another look at this. Threading the needle past one, past two. They cannot stop him if they wanted to. Og setting South Carolina straight, and they have the advantage for the first time in this series.
And that's what South Carolina wants, right? That's the first time that a team has actually been up for, well, outside of the teams that won the games against GMU. This is the first time that we're going to see a team up against GMU and now get to be a little bit more defensive. We are going to see the save is going to come out from Solar, and South Carolina now not going to play as nearly aggressive as they did to start this match off. Yep. And I think that's what they should do, right? I don't think there's any point for you to be aggressive and try to take GMU on their aggressive angles, because they're just waiting for you to double commit, triple commit, and not be able to rotate back to that ball.
Well, also what we're going to see here is how does GMU play when they're uncomfortable, when there's another team pressuring them, when they're behind, because as we've stated before, we haven't seen them when they're behind. I think, yeah, all of the games that they did lose, they were on the side stage. Yep. They weren't on mainstream. We didn't get to see them. So here we really get to dive into what happens. What does GMU do? What do they switch up when they are behind?
Yeah, and you know, it's not only that, but then we get to talk about the nerves as well, right? On that side stage, you're not live. You're not being casted. You're not in the middle of this amazing hangout venue. You are right here in the middle. I mean, we are literally standing on you. And as I say that, Titanium clearly has a problem with me talking about the nerves, and we'll find a nice shot here. We'll tap it twice and right into the goal. And Og, unfortunately, not going to be able to find that save. Yeah,
see, Og was there. Og was ready for it, but the angle was just a little bit off. Wasn't quite able to get that stop, and we're tied up. 2 minutes remaining, 1-1. I'm feeling it. This is a good series. This might go all the way, and already the ball is bouncing dangerously in front of South Carolina's goal. GMU really trying to follow that momentum, keep it moving, keep it grooving, but oh my gosh, South Carolina trying to respond on their own. Solar setting it up, but no one there to follow through. At least the threat was made. GMU understands the conviction that South Carolina is coming to this game with.
Yeah, and one thing I also want to touch on is both these teams not only fighting for that grand final spot, not only fighting for that +1 in the win, not all of that, they are still also going to be competing for the first loss of their record so far. Both these teams are undefeated, and GMU is really looking to secure this one and continue to go forward as undefeated, as we can see how much pressure they are putting on the USC goal line. But Og is just being some augmented reality right here and able to defend everything that is thrown at him.
Absolutely, we've just hit that minute remaining. Og leading the charge for the South Carolina team, but Og isn't alone. We have seen some of these other players, Solar, stepping up. South Carolina isn't, Cats of course, South Carolina isn't just a one-man show. The rest of the team have been stepping up, and they need to. Yes, Og is that superstar. Og is that player that they want to keep their eyes on, but everyone needs to work together if they want to take down GMU.
Yeah, and that is what it comes down to, is that team play, team play, team play. Being able to pass it to your team, working with your team, that rotations need to be on point so you know what is happening, when it's happening. As we are approaching 15 seconds, this is where you start to worry, because one goal means that you are very unlikely going to be moving forward into an OT, as GMU is going to keep this pressure on. If you're either team, honestly, I think you just want to go into an overtime here. And Solar with 1 second left will find the goal. GMU very unlikely going to be able to score this one up, and South Carolina will be taking match number 2 and evening the series with this other Titan.
And this is what we were talking about, right? South Carolina is not just a one-man team. They need to work together if they want to take down GMU. Solar right there finishing off the push, a second remaining, and South Carolina takes game number 2.
And that's what I was talking about, right? Is if you are able to get that goal last second, there's no way that the other team is going to be able to contest that and be able to push you into an OT. And I mean, there was a lot of pressure from GMU there. They wanted that goal. You could see them, you could feel them in that pressure, going for it really, really hard, saying, I'm going to get this goal. I'm going for it. I know we are. And the overcommitment. And Solar was able to walk into GMU's goal and find that goal. I shouldn't say walk. He drove.
He flew, basically.
He flew, yeah, into the Solarist skies, able to find that shot. And now another map loss to GMU here, as GMU is now going to be even in this series. And this is still a best of 5, but like you said, this is possible. We go all the way.
I mean, and the thing is, though, I wouldn't celebrate too early just yet. Yes, if you are a South Carolina fan, if you're here from South Carolina, you should be a South Carolina fan. You know what I'm saying? But if you are a South Carolina fan, yes, it is awesome that you were able to take a game. But when looking at everything else and every other game that we've seen, any team that has taken a game off of GMU has immediately lost the next 2.
Yeah, and
no one has been able to take more than a game off of GMU, so you have to keep that in mind. GMU goes into a different headspace when they go down.
Yeah, but speaking of headspace, Solar and the rest of USC clearly know that GMU, this is what they want. They're okay with losing a map because they end up winning the next 2, like you just said, Alexander. But USC is that team that wants to break that streak. They want to break the curse, and they want to take the University of George Mason down.
And that's that's what they need. And already Og almost instantaneously, I looked away for a second, but off the kickoff, Og kind of alley-oops it to himself, gets the goal very, very quickly. And now South Carolina is up 2-0 in this game. Still 4 minutes and 24 seconds to go, so we still have plenty of time.
Yeah, and this is GMU, right? This is GMU under pressure. You're tied in a series. USC now in 1 minute has scored 2 goals and are now going to be up and feeling themselves. You can't get confident. You can't get worried, though, because this is still anyone's game. It is 1-1. We are on match number 3. GMU could easily take this back.
They can indeed, and they certainly are trying. Look at the pressure that they're putting onto the South Carolina net, and they're not slowing down. It's going to get knocked away before Titanium can finish it, though. Og trying to collect, but Joshua Squasher is there to keep up the push. Make sure that they don't double commit. GMU has to be careful about this, especially as they are getting a little bit aggressive here.
Get on your tables, folks, because this is just getting closer and closer for South Carolina to be able to take not just 1, but 2 maps off of GMU here. GMU going to get aggressive once more, and the passing game from GMU is great, but on the other side of the field, Cats is going to find another one for South Carolina.
I mean, GMU, they were so focused on the attack. They were so focused on the push. They didn't have enough time to get back to the goal. And just like that, Cats had a long, full field shot. It's just going to roll into the net.
You can't discount these mouse and keyboard players, let me tell you, because when Cats is on the mouse, he's going to catch it. That is for sure. And Cats is proving that for us in more than one way. And now USC up 3 minutes left as well. George Mason is feeling that pressure.
They are indeed, and the pressure is creeping up, but not enough. Maybe they do well under pressure as we see Dev gets the score. Again, another one of these situations where it's an alley-oop to yourself. Going to be a self-pass off the wall, a corner area, no one there. South Carolina isn't ready for that sort of play.
Yeah, and now GMU still possible to even this back up. The kickoff will be in the favor of GMU here, and that's the sort of thing you need to think about, right? Is, you know, you have a team like GMU, you have a team like USC who are able to just really keep that pressure on, and that you can kind of feel it in GMU, right? They can start to feel that pressure coming in, being down 3 goals within 2 minutes.
Yeah, and we are going to, speaking of feeling down, feeling kind of out of it, we are having a tech pause here currently, trying to figure out what's going on So it looks like some issues on the side of GMU. One of their players is having an issue. But, I mean, what we're talking about here, right? This is a very unique stage, obviously. But part of
it's a little circular.
Yeah, a little circular. But also, the players are around us, kind of set up around the stage. So while we're up here casting, we can look directly into their souls while looking down on them. But what we also get to see is a lot of the reactions and a lot of the movements that the players make. And something, because I'm kind of facing a little bit closer towards the other side of things, the South Carolina side of things, the coach is so expressive with any time the players are doing anything well. I love to see it, and the players can feel it. Just a little or just you know, the movement, so that, you know, after the game they turn around and they can see how animated their coach is. I love that energy. You know, we talk a lot about the players being very animated, having a lot of emotions, but I love seeing the coaches get into it as well. As we get back into this game, tech pause solved. Everything should be all hunky-dory, hopefully. GMU still on that grind. They're trying to get back in Titanium. Will put another one on the board up for GMU.
Yep, 2 minutes, 19 seconds left now. South Carolina, 2 unanswered goals from GMU, and this is when South Carolina needs to reevaluate what they've been doing, continue in what was working for them, fix up what's maybe a little bit of an issue, and take this victory back from GMU, because GMU, they're now starting to feel a little bit more comfortable, especially after that shot Titanium will make, and now even up this series with South Carolina.
And now the doubt starts to creep in if you're South Carolina. There's a little bit of a, oh, we had a 3-goal lead, we had a 2-goal lead. Now it's slowly starting to shrink into no lead. We're all tied up with 2 minutes remaining. The momentum has shifted back in favor of GMU, and you can't let them get away with things like this.
Yeah, and GMU rides on this momentum. They go hard. It is the hard GMU copium with how well this team plays, just going forward and riding it and just keeping that engine going. And that is what South Carolina needs to be careful of, is because if you let GMU just ride on this momentum, then you won't be able to take them. And shutting them down early is what was going really, really well for South Carolina. They just need to do that again.
You can't give GMU free reign, because any sort of mistake or any sort of opening that you give GMU, they will run away with it. A little bit of an awkward scuffle here in the corner near South Carolina's goal, but it is all resolved a little bit too high from the shot. South Carolina, though, still keeping up this pressure. Solar going to back off. Second man, third man up, trying to make something happen. The ball's going to drop down still in this corner. GMU needs to clear it. This is a danger zone, and South Carolina is just not allowing them to clear the ball until now, where GMU, they're trying to start a push, and they just can't.
Whoa! Og with a nice defense is going to come from the other side of the field after it's defended. Will then send it over the Cats. Cats will be on the top, send it back down, and Og is ready to get it right into the goal. South Carolina, with a minute remaining, is going to keep this power on. South Carolina back in the lead once more.
A minute remaining. You said it. There is only a minute left. Time is ticking away. We've seen how well GMU does under pressure, but maybe this pressure is a little bit too much as the time is ticking away. Remember, this is still a best-of-5, so it can go either way. South Carolina has been looking dominant for a majority of this game. It's only recently that GMU has started to make this comeback, and even then, that hopium was taken away just for a second by South Carolina. It's still there. 30 seconds. We see the aggression from GMU. They're still pushing. They got the demo. This is the opportunity. The touch
will come out, but Cats, that keyboard and mouse player, cut the mouse and will be back out once more. 15 seconds. GMU needs to make one more goal if they want to tie this and continue forward, and we know it's possible. We saw a player like Solar do it earlier, but now it's up to GMU if they want to keep this game going, and they don't want to be down 2 maps in a row to South Carolina. South Carolina just wants to let it touch the ground, and it's still going to be alive for just a little bit longer here as Josh the Squasher is going to hit it back up to the top of this field. We're going to see GMU still playing with this ball a little bit, but you have to be aware of those boosts when you have no ability to touch this ball anymore, and the boosts are just not going to be able to be in your favor. South Carolina continuing to keep this pressure on.